Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I have the opportunity to work on a Penn reel from the early 2000s. This one is a Penn Sargus. It's the Sargus 4000. This is the series that Penn had right before they went to the Battle Fierce and Pursuit lines. You had the Sargus and the Clash, the Captiva as the lines before, and then they went to the battle type of scenario there. So I don't believe I have one of these in my library. This one came in from Harold, and I said, well, it's just a basic tune-up. It's a reel that he's used quite a bit but hasn't had service recently. So we're going to show you how to take this reel apart, how to service it, and how to keep this one fishing for some time to come. It's got a lot of fishing left in it. And we'll start by taking off the exterior pieces and parts. And while I do that, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you like fishing reel service and repair type videos. If you like to learn about the fishing reel manufacturers, how the reels were made, kind of where they're used, and the like, well, I would encourage you to subscribe to my channel. If you do subscribe, please use that notification button. We have the spool came off. You do that by removing or turning the adjuster knob in a counterclockwise fashion, and then we remove the handle by turning that in the opposite direction of the way that the handle turns. When I take my pieces and parts off, I put them into a parts tray. That makes it for easy locating when it's time to go to reinstall. This reel has a couple of different things going on here. It has a bump guard, and it has a few screws holding on the side case. So I'm going to start by removing that bump guard. The bump guard is there so that the reel the case doesn't shatter. Well, it has a bump guard normally, but that bump guard's missing. The only thing in there was the screw. Okay, so that is shattered at one point. I guess you could replace that if you wanted to. Harold didn't mention anything about that. But at least he put the screw back in. All right, well, mental note. You can see this reel's been heavily used. It's missing all of the paint on the reel stand. It's worn off. It's likely that that reel has been sitting in a pole holder, probably on a boat. And as it rocks back and forth, well, that wears the paint away. And it's one of the... I suspect that it's been sitting in one of those overhead type racks that would wear it down. If it was just simply sitting in a rod the whole time, I don't know how all of that would deteriorate, but it has right across the parts, which is a little bit unusual. But we're removing the side plate now so that we can remove the axle shaft, tear the reel down completely, show you the pieces and parts. And, well, you'll probably find that there's a lot of similarities between this reel and the Fierce and the battle lines, because when this reel was discontinued and they went to the Fierce and battle, they still used a lot of the parts that were made for the Sargus reels. So if you see a part with a prefix that says SG on it, know that that was the Sargus. Well, you can see this reel has not been serviced in a very long time. I was kind of told that by Harold. That's okay. We're going to clean it up. And we're going to re-grease, re-lube. And so much of what you do when you service a reel is you inspect the pieces and parts. You replace any that are broken. You clean out the old greases and oils. And you, put fresh greases and oils in. All right, we're just going to wipe all of this down. I did notice that this is a metal cased reel. So some of the reels that Penn made are carbon fiber or graphite or what have you. In this case, this one was a metal jacketed reel, which is a good thing. Kind of saw that over here on the reel stand, but the metal jacketed reels take more stress than the more flex that you have in those carbon fiber or graphite reels. Okay, we're going to remove these. This is your oscillation gear. This is your crosswind block or oscillation block. This is your main gear with the side plate bearing. as I mentioned, the first thing you want to do basically is check to make sure all the pieces and parts are in good condition. I want to get the oils and greases off of these. I wear a protective glove that at least allows one of my hands to kind of escape all the dirt and grease and grime. My working hand, I have problems using the glove on that one. A lot of times you just need the sensitivity or feel that doesn't transmit with wearing those gloves. Alright, I've just taken all the old grease off of this. There's some film left on there, but the grease is pretty much gone. And what I wanted to check for here was that make sure that all of the teeth are uniform, that there's no chips or cracking or other issues that go along with that. And well, I'm going to wipe off the old grease on the paper towel here. And again, I've pulled through, you've seen me pull through the metal brush just to make sure that all those channels are clear. They are. We have a bearing on this side too. They're two different size bearings. What I'm going to do is I'll take all of those pieces and parts that have been cleaned. I'll put those into my parts tray so that we don't lose track of them. And it looks like I got one more little wipe off here on that crosswind block. So let's do that. So this is the same architecture or design as I mentioned, the follow-on products. And they're very reliable reels. If you have the opportunity to find one, they'll treat you well. These, this is probably the 4,000 size, I'm thinking. Yeah, this is the 4,000 size. That's a very versatile reel. You can use that in rivers, streams, lakes, from piers and boats, and various fishing haunts where you probably start to run into trouble as you get into deeper water. The spools don't have the line capacity. The gearing is not as strong, and well, it serves to have a bigger reel, maybe to 5,000 or to 6,000 in those environments. What I'm doing now is I'm just coating the sides of the bail trip just to make sure that it's working nicely. We can put a little bit of oil in here on the line roller. I'm going to set that aside. The big parts don't need to go into the parts tray. You kind of know where to find them. And generally I'll put a paper towel on my work surface. That's two things. One, it kind of helps me see a little bit with the white background. But I don't want to transfer any dirt and debris from this reel onto my desk so that the next project I bring in picks that up. So I just generally use that, and then it's also a convenient place just to wipe off the parts. While we're opening up the top end assembly, this is going to have the anti-reverse in it. It is an instant anti-reverse product. I lay the 3 screws out to make sure that they're all the same size. They go into my parts tray. Next up would be the tie-down collar that goes into my parts tray, and then this whole assembly should pull out. And as I mentioned, this is very similar. If you're looking at this, you're saying, geez, is he working on a fierce or a pursuit or a battle? And that's because that stack, and as I mentioned, a lot of the parts even went over to that next generation of fishing reels that Penn made. Alright, just cleaning up some of the old grease. I did knock out a collar here. You do need to know that it's there. There is a plastic bushing that seats into the side plate here. You just take your time. I use a penetrating oil to dissolve greases and dirt. Clean up the case. I use a cotton swab when it calls for me to get into the tight places. And I think we're in pretty good shape with that. Alright, this little piece, probably going to be difficult to get back in. I'll use my micro pliers for that maybe. You You can hear that chink of the metal there. So that's going to go into the slot below. It isn't always easy to do. Just take your time and have a little patience and you will get it in there. That's how it belongs. The axle shaft is going to ride on that as it comes through. Alright, here's our stack. We have our pinion gear. We have an open ball bearing. We have our anti-reverse clutch. Notice on that there are two sides. The bottom side has a plastic kind of a component. The top side has got a metal finish to it. If you put that in upside down, you're going to run the risk of having your reel run backwards. Alright, there is a sealed bearing on this side. There is a bearing cover that's going in here, and you'll notice there's a ridge in here. That ridge is the down piece, downside of it. When you work on fishing reels, particularly if you're not familiar with the reel, you want to take pictures. I'm taking pictures with a video camera here. You don't need to do that, but I recommend that you take pictures with your cell phone or whatever image capture device you have. Use your iPad, use your computer, whatever, but take pictures along the way. That will help you in the event that you get stuck. It'll show you the orientation of the pieces and parts, and it'll show you when you took them off and where you took them off from. So at critical junctures, do that. The open bearing is the one that goes below. I've oiled that bearing. You don't need to service this. I get that question a lot. What's the service for an anti-reverse clutch? It really isn't much. You want to wipe off this sleeve because it's a friction-driven device, so you want to make sure that it's free of oil and dirt. And you can take a cotton swab and just run it around the inside to clean up any excess greases there may be in there. Insert the two, and then we can put that onto the stack. And remember, as you're putting this onto the stack, that it's the metal side that faces up. On the stack, you're going to notice that there is a difference between the collar and the anti-reverse clutch. That's why this one has the indentation below. That goes on next, and then you have a nice tight seal. Last up then is a small washer that goes up top, and that sits between the stack and the rotor. With that on, we can go ahead and seat that into the case. And when we do that, make sure that your bearing is flush. If that's sitting high or proud, it means that you haven't seated something properly, and it will bind when you go to operate your fishing reel. Right, there's 3 of these screws. I got 2 of them out. Now, me and small screws don't play well together, so if you want to go get your favorite beverage of choice, come back in. Yes, shouldn't take that long, but sometimes it does, getting that first one started. See if we can get it to hold this way. There's been several tips on how to do the small screw thing. One of them is to dip your tip of your screwdriver into some fishing reel grease. That'll be a temporary hold for it. I've used that. And some other things, but I like the ones that have the flat bladed approach because I have a screw starter for that. I haven't found a screw starter for the Phillips head screws. Alright, this is the second one. For those of you who went to get a beverage, welcome back. And one more of these. I'm going to go down below. We'll put that together. Nice and cleaned. All of the parts checked out. We didn't see any broken pieces, parts, or and the like. So we should be good to go there. Next then would be the rotor goes on. There's 2 flat sides to your pinion gear. Find those. Go to your parts tray and get that cover. I was just checking. There is another plastic ferrule that goes inside the gear here. I was just checking to make sure that it was there. That's about one size smaller than the wrench I was just using. Yeah, that's an 11. What you want to do is give it a spin, make sure it works nice and free and easy after you've tightened that down. Okay, we've greased the pinion gear. Let's go reinstall the rest of this then. We have our oscillation gear is next. That has a stud on it. It's an offset stud. So as that goes around, it's going to go high and low. And when it's combined with your crosswind block, it's going to move your axle shaft up and down. Place that in. Okay, we've put the bearing back in, put the main gear back on. Let's tie down that axle shaft. I think I have the wrong screw. I believe the screw that I have is the case screw. So let's try this one. It's probably the right one. There you go. Okay. Axle shaft screw is in place. Another sealed bearing here, so you don't need to lubricate the sealed bearings. You can't get oil into them. They're sealed. Here's your outside case goes next. We have 3 of the round 12-set screws. They go on the outside. Again, if you've lost your place, you didn't remember quite where the screws went, go back and take a look at your picture. So this is where the other flathead screw went here. That usually hides under the bump guard. Okay, 2 more screws to go. Notice that these screws do have a little transparent or clear washer on it. That's a case seal. Keep the water out of the case. When I go in an X pattern, you probably noticed that I went high on one side, then came down low on the other side. So, in reverse. That's to keep equal tension on the case so that you don't bind it during the reassembly. Well, there's only one more screw in my parts tray now, and that belongs to the missing bump guard. We can put that back in. Since it's here and it was there when we started, let's put it there when we finish. Just in case it decides to go get a replacement. This is the point I was making on the use of a glove. If I had a glove on my hand here, I wouldn't be able to get this started. Okay, let's just tighten that down. We'll go over service the drags, and we'll give this reel a test. Well, there's a lot of greases on that towel there. Kind of says that there was a lot of dirt and the like involved in this service. And that's one of the reasons why you want to service your reel. Alright, there's 3 screws that are holding the top assembly on. It's holding your drag washers in place. So top drags are notorious for letting water into the drag assembly and corroding and eating away at the drag washers. Manufacturers have tried some things over time to prevent that. In this case, they've got an inner seal here, and they've got a rubber grommet on the other side of it. All right, we'll remove that. That'll enable us to remove the drag washer stack. And if I remember, this one may have felt washers in it. And it does. So there's nothing wrong with felt washers. Some people think that it's inexpensive or something. There's nothing wrong with them. You just need to keep them lubricated. If they dry out, they can tear. If you find that you have the felt washers in your reel and that you're tearing them up with the fish that you're fighting, you can move these up now to the HT100s that are Penn washers as well. Okay, these are well lubricated. I oil these. There's a lot of oil left on these. We'll show you. We're going to alternate the drag washers with the metals. There's two metals that are rectangular insides. They're called keyed washers. And the middle one is called an eared washer. It has the points on the outside. I'm going to use the oils to lubricate those felt washers. Clean the metals. Alternate these. Again, I'm going to use the oil to saturate that felt to keep it nice and lubricated. The eared washer goes in the middle and fits in those slots. Here's your top washer. Again, wipe those washers clean. Oops. Got a little bit ahead of myself there. Let's oil that last one. Now we can take that collar and bring that back in. Press it down and in. Make sure that you have the holes centered. And take those three little screws again. Challenging me here. I'm going to go with a micro screwdriver for this, I think. Well, I may have said it, I may not have. I lose track from time to time. But if you have any questions on this reel or any reel in particular, maybe you're working on one and you've come across an issue that you're trying to resolve and you're stuck, you leave those questions in the comments section. I do try to get you answers for those to the best that I know about them. I mean, there's some questions clearly I won't be able to answer, but I'll try to help you out. All right, one more of these. As you can tell, I have a variety of tools on my bench. All of them are not far from quick reach with my hands. You never know when it's going to be more convenient to use one tool versus another. And I don't like putting the projects down, having to go off and find something and then kind of lose track of where I am. All right, I'm going to use a rod and reel cleaner just to take care of some of the dirt on here, maybe some of the oils that I may have even transferred over as part of my servicing. So let's clean that up. I'll bring the spool back on here. Try the adjuster nut now. Tighten it down, check your drag. Nice and tight. Let's put our handle back on. You can put some oil into that handle until it collapses. That'll help keep the salts and the like out of there. Okay, let's give it a try. Nice smooth operation, nice fast clicking bail. Okay, when you're done fishing for the day, particularly with something like this, with those felt washers, back your drag off. If you leave that drag in there and you leave those washers compressed, it's going to squeeze the lubrication from those. They'll dry out more quickly. And if you're having problems with dried and cracked washers, well, that may be a cause. Okay, that's our service of the Penn Sargus 4000. Before I leave, I want to thank our police, fire, rescue, everybody involved and dedicated to a career in public service. I do thank you for your efforts and for your day in, day out dedication. If you have one of these reels, you now know how to service it. If you have the Fierce, the Battle, or the Pursuit, you'll also know how to service that, because this was the predecessor to those, and they very much are the same internally. So I hope you find that that was enjoyable. If you did, please like the video, and again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. That's what keeps the channel vibrant. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.